dude, UFC Chicago, honestly, I thought that they were going to give us the backhand because no disrespect to Cejudo, no disrespect to Moraes. That's not a main event I want to see, man. Like, sure, Cejudo's what, Olympic gold medalist, but dude,
Don't
give us
forget,
someone else, man.
don't forget to mention he's an Olympic gold medalist.
Oh, he'll be pissed if we don't. He'll be fucking pissed if we don't, bro.
Yes, sir. I think after I think we might just be a little spoiled. I mean, I'm don't get me wrong. I'm very much I'm looking forward to it. But I'm looking forward to it because of the actual fight, the variables that are going to go into the actual fight. I think we're just a little spoiled from the pay-per-view era. We're kind of used to having what we want to see. For example, if let's say I don't know, let's say Max came out on top, we would want Max Holloway against I don't know. We would throw in Connor, I don't know. We would just be okay with super fights, but I'm not mad at the whole thing, but I do understand that's not the best thing they could have put on. They could have given us a way better show. I'm
Yeah,
guessing, I think it really went well for them last year. And
yeah,
how are you gonna go from Yoel Romero and Whitaker practically like keeping each other from an inch from death, and then you gotta go with the fight like that? Who knows? They have their reasons, but yeah, it's. I mean, I'm looking forward to the fight, but yeah, you're right. Like they kind of they could have given us a better main event. It's a little
yeah,
rude.
yeah. It is, and also it's such a big market. Chicago is because you don't really get to see so many events here in this part of the country compared to, for example, Las Vegas. They get how many big events a year? Like four, 3 or 4. So you would think that because they're only here once a year, they would give us a big fight. And again, it's no disrespect to Cejudo, no disrespect to Moraes. Isn't Shevchenko fighting in this too?
I think she's a co-main.
Yeah, yeah. So you know, you give me that card, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to watch. But then you fucking put
I
Cowboy,
was about to say the
and you put
co-main.
and you
Ooh,
put Tony Ferguson,
man.
dude. I'm in.
I don't think
I
I don't know. I don't think anybody is like understanding of the type of fight we have in here. I mean, just because neither one of them has a title, but that should ease. If one of them had a title, that'd easily be the main event over Cejudo and Moraes.
oh my
Because,
god.
dude, I mean, I can't even begin to break that fight down because, Jesus, having El Cucuy staring across from Cabo. He's been on a rampage.
He
I mean,
has.
dude, like it could very well be like Tony demolishing Cowboy, or Cowboy when he shows up, man. That is a scary, scary man.
Yeah.
Probably some of the best kickboxing there is in the UFC, and combine that with I still feel like he might be exiting it, but he's still very, very fit. He's super game. On top of that, with all the experience that he's had, I mean, don't get me wrong. Tony's. I feel like the public eye will favor Tony automatically, but man, like that is a legit. No, I wouldn't say super fight, but that is a really, really good fight.
The UFC has been really marketing this as the people's main event, which I think they knew they had to make a big fight like that for Chicago. And they know that this crowd is fucking hot, dude. When it comes to like fighting, of course, MMA, they're a hot crowd. Even in wrestling, dude, they're a really hot crowd. So they knew they had to make a fight like this. And also, Cowboy Cerrone, he fought May 4th. He fought the same night that Canelo and Jacobs did. And now, when's the fight going to be? June 8th or June 9th? June 8th, right?
I think it's the 9th. June 8th, I think you might be having your memory because of the aerial home
Oh,
on the
yeah.
show. But no, I think it's June 9th. Dude, Canelo is in. My man's is in Paris right now.
He's not. There's no way. You can't offer him enough money to fight on that same night. There's no way that
Exactly.
Canelo or really anyone would
And
do it.
Cowboy, I mean, the I forgot what it's called. I think the Airdyne bike. He was on that thing yesterday. Like that dude's a madman.
Why don't we look it up?
But then again, that's Cowboy.
Yeah.
That's Cowboy. I mean that we can't have we can't we have to enjoy him completely. You know, we have to, you know, obviously there's a bunch of these health risks left and right on why he shouldn't be fighting, but you kind of have to accept the fighter for his nature. You know, the same
Yeah.
way that we had to accept Connor throwing a dolly in. It's just part of his nature, you know? Like I guess some of these people don't understand. These guys are yeah, they're fighters and they're these figures, but you have to understand that they're people just like us, and their nature is going to translate to any part of these things. Cowboy, you know, the same way he fights, the way that he fights, he carries it on with how he deals with business things. Maybe maybe he doesn't, you know, he has that chip on his shoulder that he's always want. Who knows? It could be a bunch of different things, but that same nature that he has in the octagon carries it out with him. And I mean, that's the reason why he takes fights. He just loves fighting, you know. That's why we love him, but that's just his nature, so we can't really be mad at him.
Correct me if I'm wrong, dude. Isn't Cowboy Cerrone's kid's name is Danger?
Ah, I want to say,
I might
yeah,
be
I think he might have said that in an interview,
or
right?
he calls him Danger or something
It's
like that.
something like that, yeah.
Dude,
I've
he
heard that before.
I think he has to be the only person in the world that can get away with naming their kid Danger or even
Probably
calling him
anybody
Danger.
else would just catch the internet would demolish them,
Oh yeah, of
but
course.
yeah, not Cowboy.
That's why Conor McGregor went for the safe route. I'll just name him Junior,
There we go.
right?
There we go.
Which
That's the
is
safe
not
route.
it's not a bad choice for all you
Could you
juniors.
imagine the outrage that would be if Connor named his kid something like that? Oh my goodness.
If he
The
named this kid like
I
I
don't
was
even
gonna say
want
Bentley, but Bentley is
Bentley,
actually
and it
I
would
mean
have to
it's not too bad.
and it would have to
It's
be in
really
an Irish accent.
mm,
It would have to be like Bentley, Bentley.
Bentley Bentley McGregor, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, fucking
yeah.
I was gonna say the C word, but I know people get really fucking touchy when it comes to saying the I hope you know what C word I'm talking about.
Bentley, get over here, you dirty cunt. You
There
know?
you go. And by the way, if you guys hear that, it's my mom in the background. Hi, mom. Um, she is like in and out. There you go. My mom. She's doing the laundry and she's doing some garden work. Miguel Ocampo joining the show. What is up, man? UFC talk. Um, it gets us really excited.
It does.
Of course, summertime,
It's
and we're
beautiful
gonna
outside as we speak.
yeah, and and we're gonna meet Ariel Helwani, dude. That is like how can I put this for people who don't watch mixed martial arts? It's like
Just put it
mm,
this way. I mean, there's fighters that get there's these fighters that are getting interviewed, in these big, you know, this big room. You have these fighters, 10 fighters that are fighting that night, and you have all the reporters asking. When this reporter, when this gentleman stands up, he has his own set of fans that are cheering for him as he's about to ask the questions. So I mean that even caught me by surprise. But this is the top of the game as far as MMA analysts go, and yeah, man, it's gonna be a pleasure. Cool guy.
dude, it's gonna be so fun. It's what two? Well, I mean, we're recording this on the
Ariel's such an
20.
instigator, though.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
he is.
don't get me wrong. I don't love the guy, but I mean, I do admire his hard work.
Oh yeah, he's a
no,
hard worker, no
oh my
doubt.
goodness,
But
man, top of the game for a reason. I'm sorry. Before we continue this,
yeah, yeah.
I think this one time, man, I forgot what it was. I think he came out with 3 different like I think 20-minute videos in one day. I think, and you know, you could say whatever you want. It's you know, it's just a 20-minute video. It takes time to edit these things out. Yeah, he has his team behind him, but I feel like he's at the top for a reason. I wish I could to do him justice. I wish I could remember the amount of activity he had one day, but he was all over the place, and he was, you know, he's at the top of a reason. This guy, he puts in work. He puts in real work. Like I'm talking about, if there was an event here, let's say this Saturday, and there was another one in, I don't know, Seattle in a week, like Monday morning he would probably arrive in Seattle. You know, I, Sunday morning he'd probably be flying out. You know, like this guy. You know, he's at the top of a reason. So he's an interesting man. I can't wait to see him.
Oh yeah, and he's gonna open it up for the crowd too. So I mean, we gotta think of some questions. We're not gonna say them here because we don't want you to take them if you're gonna go to the event. But if you are and you see us, just say what's up. I mean, we're cool dudes. But also, you touched on something really important when it comes to like traveling and all of that. And I think that's the life of a journalist. People think that being a journalist is just writing or being in front of a camera or talking to a microphone and stuff like that. But no, dude, you got to do a lot of research when you're creating a piece. Like for example, um, I've seen lately on Helwani, and it sounds like we're on Ariel's jock, but we're really not. We're just really, we're giving him props for what he does. He does this new thing, Ariel's thoughts or something like that on Instagram that he just are like random thoughts, and he like it's like a graphic on his Instagram page, and he just talks about that. So it's really the little things that Ariel Helwani does that gets him to the top. Again, you might say that he's an instigator. I won't disagree with you because he is. I'm pretty sure you're gonna remember that one time that Nick Diaz told him that
Oh yeah.
that people like that get slapped where he's from, which is Stockton, California, by the way, if you guys don't know. So, his, I mean, yeah, he's an instigator, but that's what I mean. How many fights do you think he has created? Not necessarily like put to paper like Dana White does, but how many fights do you think he has stirred up in his years covering mixed martial arts?
I
Because
think
of he's an instigator.
he's an instigator, but I think he just, more than it being a personal thrill off of him, I think he overall understands the nature of creating a fight, and I guess he knows sometimes he does get caught with it, but I think he knows how to push enough
Mm-hmm.
to get let's say he's interviewing Nick Diaz, let's say again for some reason. He knows just enough, well, besides Nick Diaz. That's a bad example actually. Let's say Tyron Woodley. He knows enough. He knows to push Tyron enough to talk about his opponent because he knows Tyron will have obviously somewhat of a disagreement with his opponent, but he knows not to push hard enough to where Tyron pulls it on him. Does you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So he makes sure the focus stays on the other fighter most of the time. But I mean, now after that whole Nick thing and after that case, fighters are more inclined to point him out on it. But I still think he does this thing and he gets away with it sometimes. But like I said, it's just part of him. So it can't be too mad at him.
One last thing before we switch topics, dude. I think it's incredible how Ariel Helwani is still a top tier, probably the best mixed martial arts journalist out there. And Dana White hates his guts, dude. Like, Dana White could have easily, and I mean, he kind of did, shut him down completely and just revoked all of his rights to go in and cover UFC events. And somehow, some way, because he's that good, he can still do it. And it wasn't too long ago. It was what, like 3 years ago when he spewed that Brock Lesnar stuff, which was obviously it was real because he fought in that UFC 200 card. But yeah, man, I mean, you can't live without good journalism. So Ariel Helwani's just doing his thing.
Yeah, I think that whole thing, Dana White has, and I don't want to spend too much time talking about that guy, but Dana White, he's an amazing, amazing, amazing businessman. So he also has the tendency of being a hothead.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've seen him go off on his own fighters sometimes, so on and so forth. But after that whole thing, he's the type to fire off and then afterwards pull away a little bit. And kind of after the dust settles at the end of the day, he kind of realizes what he needs and what he doesn't. Um, definitely a rookie mistake of him to get rid of Ariel Wani, because whether you like it or not, that man's gonna bring you a lot of views. He's such an asset to the UFC, and ESPN realizes that. That's why they signed him completely. But he's such an asset for Dana that he just has to live with him. You see him now, right? You see him now. Like,
Yeah.
Dana's a lot wiser now.
Yeah.
He realizes that that guy's there to stay. So you might as well. You see him now, how he speaks to him, and when he has any sort of press conferences, you've seen how he treats him. He doesn't necessarily like him. He doesn't have to like him. He's a businessman that's gonna run into countless amounts of people that he doesn't like, but he does understand that Ariel is an asset, and that they need to just find a way. You know, Obviously it's gonna be different now with how he's around him, and he's gonna make sure certain information doesn't get near him. If there is, two top like let's say if you had to choose for something for some whatever reason, between Brett Akamoto and Ariel, obviously he's gonna go with Brett or whatever, just out of his dislike. But for the most part, he does understand he does have to deal with him, and they're just gonna have to figure it out, you know.
Yeah, and again, this isn't just us talking great about Ariel Helwani, because when we talk about Helwani like this, we're essentially talking about the good mixed martial arts journalists like Luke Thomas. He's a guy that I've really gotten into his work a little bit more as of late. I can't really think of any off the top of my head because I think those two
Brett
are
Akamoto,
oh, of course, Akamoto. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
He he doesn't do necessarily the same thing that Helwani does because he doesn't have his own show, but he's very active on social media.
I think it all depends on different exposure maybe. Like for example, I Luke Thomas, I barely know anything about him. Like
Mm-hmm.
I just know that John Jones doesn't like him at all.
Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
I know rightfully so, you know,
Yeah.
but I guess I've just seen Ariel and Akamoto's name a lot more. Come across more news has come across from them. Whether I like it or not, you know, I would, you know, anything with a news flash for UFC, you know, I'll click on. And yeah, just Akamoto I feel like is really active. So I mean, he's active enough to the point where I remember his name at the top of my head, you know. So
Oh, he's a
just does a
sharp
good
dude
job.
too.
Yeah.
He's sharp. He's been on broadcast like on UFC prelims and
Yep.
stuff like that. So he's definitely a person that got a lot more exposure with this ESPN deal because he worked for ESPN before. So
Mm-hmm.
now he gets his shine because ESPN, the company that he worked with and still does work with, has the rights to broadcast the fights. So I mean, it was that much better
It worked out for him.
yeah, it worked
Mm-hmm.
out just fine. And now, let's switch gears a little bit. We were
Mm-hmm.
talking right now about clicks and social media and stuff like that. I know you're into um, what's the
A lot of things, man.
yeah,
Don't try
like
to put a name to it because I can't even put a name to it.
online business, e-commerce, stuff like that.
Along
Dude,
those lines.
it's always been so fascinating for me because you and your good friend Carlos, maybe he wanted to remain unnamed. No, just kidding. Um, you two are people who do not want to work for someone. You want to work for yourselves. So that to me again has always been so fascinating, like that whole journey to actually become financially independent. How did you get into like e-commerce?
Well, I'll start off with the need for financial freedom. I think that I it started off as I I knew what I wanted, but I just didn't really know how to get there. I kind of just found my vehicle and just went all in with it. Really, that's all you could really explain. It's I just think it overall it's just the internet and just us as a species getting like connecting and really getting ahead of things. You know, this whole internet thing has created so many countless opportunities, man. There's so many jobs out, or not jobs, but like so many ways that people have made a living off of simply there's so many like little specific niches you can go into, but in reality it's just like you know the world, the internet, the world, like people are just, if someone's anybody, if you want something you'll find an opportunity in almost anything, you know. And a lot of these careers, a lot of these, you know, there's people my age, there's younger, there's older, there's people that are retired that are you know, starting this and really finding what they've been looking for the entire time. They're you know, they look for financial freedom, they couldn't find it all their life, and all of a sudden this internet, you know, they understand what's in front of them, which gives them like the biggest gift because they're able to see how much of an opportunity it really is, and they're able to just go off and just, you know, build whatever they want off of it. And the internet has created so many opportunities, like it's ridiculous. You really just have to get out there and just look around and try different things, and you'll come across something that you like, but it all has to be if you want it, you know. But I think the bigger I guess mountain you have to climb is being in the right mindset or being the right person to get there. Because you know, something I'm currently working on a daily basis is you have to become the person that, you know, because you draw this path out for you and for yourself, and you, like I said, you need the vehicle to get there, whether it be through school, through, you know, a job, through moving up through a business, creating your own business, whatever the case may be, there's this final product that you envision at the end of the day. And I think becoming that person is 100 times more important than, you know, conquering a skill set and getting farther, because you're gonna conquer a skill set. You're gonna get great um at your career. You're gonna get great at your career. I'll get great in my career. Somebody else will be an amazing journalist. You know, but what happens when you hit those speed bumps? You know, what happens when you know get on top of everything you want? Let's say you hit that halfway goal, and what happens when everything gets wiped out in front of you? What happens when when there's a recession? What happens when all that gets troubles go through? You know, everybody goes through these things, and you have to become the person to be able to deal with those things before you go ahead and try to cling on to a skill set and think that that's going to figure it all out for you, because so many people crumble. And in a world where um your business completely reflects you, because it's entrepreneurship. So the beauty of entrepreneurship is that it's completely up to you at all times. But there's a huge downside to that. If something isn't working, it's all on you. You're the final line of defense. You're your own final line of defense. You're the very front, you're the very back. So if it's going great, it's the greatest feeling in the world. But if it's not, it's highs and lows, just like everything else. But I
Oh
think
yeah, it's
it's
super frustrating.
so much. I think it's so much more because you understand that you're in full control at all times. This is your. It feels like a baby. Like I hope maybe somebody out there will understand. But when you create one of these something like this, it's your baby. It's completely a reflection of you. If it's fluctuating, if it's going downhill, it's going uphill, it's because you do a bunch of things right, or you do a bunch of things wrong, or because you half-ass a lot of things. That's the reflection you're gonna get at all times. And like I said, it's important to become the person first, because you need to have thick skin for this, man. So serious. And that's all I'll give you. Like like personally, what helps me so much going forward. But man, you have to have the thickest skin. You have to have the strongest head on your shoulders, and you only get that with confidence. You only get the confidence by putting in the work that's necessary every day. On becoming that person before you get on that vehicle, and because you could pick whatever business model, but if you take if you take a kid out of Honduras, right?
Yeah.
Honduras is probably one of the harshest countries.
Oh
You
yeah,
take
of
a
course.
kid. Let's say you take a kid out of Honduras and you give, I don't know, one of your neighbors the same opportunity. The kids from Honduras are gonna fucking eat him alive. They're gonna eat him for breakfast before breakfast, because they understand, and they unfortunately they had to go through some of these things out of their control, but they're that much stronger. Their skin is that much thicker. Good luck pissing one of those kids off with something. You're gonna piss the other kid off a lot quicker than you will piss that kid off. Why? Because that kid's been through so much more. So you kind of have to. And sometimes these people are your competition. So, you want to go ahead and start crying that something's not going your way. That's fine. Yeah, it's not going his way, but that's not the worst that he's seen. He's gone days without eating before. So if this isn't going his way, he doesn't care. He knows that there's something else on the other side for him. So I think that's so important. I really hope people take the most out of that. But that's something that I see that a lot of people don't see. And yeah.
I think you hit it right on the head, dude. You put a perfect example with the kids, of course. Someone, and no offense to anyone from Honduras, but it's really a third world country, and compared to here, which sure we might not be rich, we might not be millionaires, but we eat every day. We have a job. We can go to school freely. We can do so many different things. So I feel like that's why people who are entrepreneurs are people with rough backgrounds. Same thing with athletes. Athletes, it's rare. It's very rare that you see a kid who had both of his parents, who had a 6 or 7 figure income annually, make it onto the big stage because he is used to having everything put on a plate and even maybe even spoon fed, right, directly. So yeah, man, I think having a thick skin is not only something that you need to have for business, it's really for everything in life,
It's
you know?
and it's way more in depth than for example, having thick. What do you mean? What do you think? What do you think I'm referring to when I say thick skin? Like, when do you?
Well, when it comes to business, I think that you're talking about being able to handle the losses because some people see that their numbers are red, as they say,
Mm-hmm.
and they automatically start to panic. I say this because I am guilty of it. I've had some adventures that haven't gone my way, and I see it, and I'm like, oh, maybe this isn't so much for me. So, um, being able to handle those losses, being able to handle the pressure of, like you said, being your first and last line of defense. If something goes wrong, it's on you, you know? And that's something that I feel people don't really understand when it comes to business. And I took an accounting class this last semester, and like the liabilities that we were talking about when, like, for example, you're in a corporation. Obviously, you need to work to get to that place because you're not just gonna open up you're not just gonna set up shop and have a corporation automatically. Because when you're first starting up, it's a DBA. You're doing business as, and your taxes aren't separated. You're filing taxes together. So if something goes wrong with that, you need to have thick skin and a hard head, like you said, to deal with all those problems. And if you can deal with those problems, and if you can overcome those problems, then I think that is what having thick skin means in the business world. And that's why I answered it like that, because we're talking about business right now.
Yeah, you see that is that's good. You know, that's you get what I mean. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh,
you get
yeah,
what I
of
mean.
course. Of course.
Now, while you do understand what I mean, there's so many small situations that will
Oh, of
happen
course.
that
Yeah.
that people think that has nothing to do with how, like, I feel like it as a whole, you need to like fully understand how much you need that thick skin or that actual belief or the actual faith in what you're in your end goal. That literally goes into everything that you do that day. I'm gonna share this part with you. So last week I've had probably one of the most successful days up to date, if not the most. When everything was supposed to be going great after, let's say I hit a certain dollar amount, right? The day after, you would in this the great thing about this business model is that you're able to double up over and over again. As long as like you handle certain variables, it's a lot easier to for example, let's say right now you want to you sign a great deal on the house, and you want to flip that over, and you want to do that instead of just one house, next month you want to do two houses. That is a lot more work, a lot more. It's very hard to double up on things like that. Online, it's so much easier. It's so much less maintenance. It's Things are
Yeah.
so accessible.
Yeah.
Now, you would it's all right. Making that point, I had probably one of my highest selling days, if not the highest selling day. The day after, I went completely zero. Same, no explanation. Same everything. Same, let's say same marketing strategy, same ads, same everything. All the variables were in place. The result was great the day before. All the variables all the variables were in place. The next day's result didn't make any sense. It didn't add up. Now, me, I got frustrated for a couple hours, and I got really upset at myself afterwards for becoming frustrated, because I know in my core that that result is not something I deserved. Now, I didn't sit there a second longer and start questioning as to why. That's where the grit comes in. That's where the fight comes in. That's where you need to. It's very easy to envision your end goals. It's very easy to envision all these good things when things are going good. A lot of people knock on Connor for the amount of
I was thinking about the exact same thing. Oh my
over and
god, dude.
over
We
again,
were
dude.
oh my god, that
Over
is
and
crazy.
a lot of people like to knock on this guy. You don't have to love everything about him, but
No.
man, like the mentality he has, man. You have to be able to. My man's Bruce Lee. You got to be able to flow like water. Or no, I'm sorry, flow. Yeah, flow like water. You have to, these things have to rub off on you. They have to like hit you. Okay, it's over. On to the next one. I sat there a little frustrated, but then afterwards I realized, okay, this is where my grit comes in. This is where the actual faith needs to be in. I know I didn't deserve it, so I didn't try to, handle. I can't control results. I really can't. You can control everything else that leads to it, but you can't control the results. So what I do, you just have to take a step back, overlook everything, take a step back, break everything down, analyze why are we receiving things like this, and do what you have to do, and that's gonna give you confidence going forward. And I feel like that's where thick skin needs to come in. And afterwards, after the fact, I felt really good. I went to sleep. Believe it or not, I had a better time sleeping those nights that I had zero sales in than the day that I had more successful. I
How come?
slept better that night
How come?
because you get filled with excitement.
Hmm.
When you hit that, when you hit the highest of highs, complacency will eat you alive,
Hmm.
man. Eat
Mm-hmm.
you alive. Not to say I was complacent the day after. Believe me, there's countless amounts of years I have left to give. Countless amounts. Like I can't even begin to. Yeah, but it's very easy to I've been working at this thing for months tirelessly sometimes, and when you hit these high points, it's so easy to kick your feet up, or not just kick your feet up, but to enjoy yourself, but that's fine, that to an extent, but complacency will set in whether you like it or not. And I truly believe that it all worked in my favor, because I feel like it was the Almighty telling me, like, okay, yeah, we're gonna reward your hard work, but what are you gonna do now? Like, let's see, what are you gonna do now? Let's see. Are you gonna sit there and question the world? What are you gonna blame? And I mean, it was a test, and I feel as though I passed it, and that's only because of the thick skin. I realized that, like, you need to keep base your actions off of your commitment to your end goal, and not off of emotion, because it's so easy. You have to detach yourself from emotion if you're gonna go into anything like this. If you want to, you have to detach yourself from emotion, because in fighting, in school, all that, a lot of people don't see. Ego and emotions are a motherfucker, man. They'll eat anybody alive.
Yeah.
Anybody. And it happens a lot more than anybody thinks. But think about the last time you were upset, and think about how much your ego plays into that, or your emotions towards something play into that. You know. So those are the yeah. But yeah, man, you really need to have thick skin. You need to really understand what it is you're getting yourself into. Weigh out the rewards and the risks. Are you willing to, let's say this business is your everything? Okay, are you willing to not buy like, I don't know, are you willing to cut down going out, whatever the case may be? Are you, you know, let's say you're on your own. If you have like a boyfriend or girlfriend, husband, wife, are they on board with you? Because if not, you're gonna have to start choosing one or the other sometimes. That I feel like one of my biggest advantages is that, this really struck me, and this is from a while ago, that we spoke about him earlier, Nick Diaz, what a character he is. But he goes into these fights, and he's thinking, I'm about to go, I'm gonna talk just like he's like, I'm about to go in there, my opponent, he's like, my opponent, he has his little wife and his little kids, and he goes, I can't have that, because this is all I have. All I do is fight. And he's like, so I'm gonna go beat your ass in front of all your kids or whatever, because and that's sometimes, there's beauty in it all. Don't get me wrong. There's beauty in it all, but you have to also understand, while you have that wife and that pretty little family, there's somebody right next to you with none of those distractions, with one goal in mind. Nick Diaz he had the goal of beating the shit out of the other dude, while the other dude, not to knock off anybody, but I'm just gonna pick on Chris Weidman. But for example, he has his two kids. He has to go take care of them. He has to take him to school. He has his wife. He has to keep happy. He has to keep the family in line. Everything else. What's Nick Diaz doing? He's fucking. He's
He's
running
just
four
trying. Yeah.
miles while you and you're taking your kids to school, and you get your little coffee and all these other things, and you talk to the wife. He just finished his 5 mile run. He's working out while you're working out. When you're done working out, have to go take care of other things. He just finished his boxing training. Now he's gonna go swim. Go have your family dinner. After this, I'm gonna go do jujitsu. That's kind of what you have to approach it as. You have to understand that you have to weigh. Really have to weigh if it's worth it for you or not. And you have to
Yeah.
ask yourself these questions constantly, or they're gonna. If you don't choose, things will choose for you. Things will choose for you. That's damn. I'm spitting a lot of knowledge about a lot of too much knowledge, but
No, yeah, yeah, you are, but
I'm
that's
going
good.
a little too crazy. I
No,
gotta I gotta hold back.
no,
I can't let these people have it all.
that's true too. But I think you hit a subject that not many people want to talk about, and that's having a family so early on in life. And listen, this isn't a knock on anyone, but here's my thing. And if you know me for a long time, you've known that I've said that I'm not getting married. I'm probably never getting married. I'm just gonna say this, ladies. I'm sorry, but
We're sorry.
yeah, we're sorry, but I just don't see myself getting married because I don't think anyone can deal with the stuff that I do. Not, I mean, that might sound like a bad thing, but like my I don't think anyone can keep up with my routine and the stuff that I do. And dude, I've seen the work that you've put in. I don't think anyone can keep up with you either. And if you do, find someone that can keep up with your work, dude. Keep her. You
Oh, we're
know?
talking about female wise.
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
now I actually believe it or not, I differ from it a little bit because while I do think that it's the biggest advantage when you don't have to worry about somebody else in general. Um, it's a double edged sword, man. It can drain you or it can fuel you even more. Because don't get me wrong, I've seen countless amounts of women that know exactly how to play it, but there's so many variables that go into it, man. There's so many variables that go into it, like trust, things like that. It could very well happen, man. There's countless amounts of successful things that go like that, to um something that Grant Cardone, one of the people I look up to the most, something that his wife brought up is that she's not really too much on. She doesn't need too much from him. She doesn't need much from her. She understands that. She understands his objective, and she understands that her role is helping him get there, and he understands the same thing. His role is to help her get there. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's we can
Yeah.
both agree that that's actual love. Let's
It's
say
not a
you want
needy
to.
relationship, you
Exactly.
know?
You want to take that. Let's say you want to take this to the moon. If a girl come along and actually love you, she'll help you get there, and
Yeah.
she'll understand what she can do to help you and what she cannot do to distract you from it. She cannot distract you from it from being, I don't know, overall, like, just if she's more focused on her thing and doing her thing, there's no way that's gonna distract you or bring you down or anything like that. No, if she wants to start picking things at a bunch of things that you have no, let's say something small, like let's say you're in the office and you're working, you were supposed to get home at 8, but something out of your control is keeping you in there, and it just so happens. Listen, babe, I have an interview finally with fucking Khabib. Just called me that he says the only time he could do an interview is right now, so I'm gonna have to. If there's actual love, if there's actual trust there, she'll have no problem with it. She'll okay, we'll shake and roll with it. If
Mm-hmm.
it's out of your control, and
Yeah.
if it's in your control, obviously there's gonna be a fucking little argument there.
Oh
But
yeah. Of
but
course.
um,
Of course.
but
Yeah.
no, don't get it wrong. There's definitely a lot of women. There's real women out there, man. I see you guys, but a little too focused right now.
Yeah. 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 And now that you mentioned that, the support is so important, and sometimes you don't even need it from a significant other. If you have support from your parents or from your siblings or from your family or friends, whatever, that's more than enough. But you brought up something that reminded me of something else I was watching. What's Food Truck Diaries with Brendan Schaub, and he had Dustin Poirier on. I was watching it yesterday, and Dustin Poirier was talking about how important his wife
I was just about to say
is
that.
is in his success as a fighter, and not only that, but as a man, as a husband or a boy. I'm pretty sure they're married, as a husband, as a father. You know, he mentioned something about his wife driving him to his first fight when he was 18. They drove about 2 hours or something like that, and you know she was willing to do it because she believed in him. And this is a quote from Dustin. He said she believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself. And I'm getting goosebumps just like mentioning this right now because that unconditional support is so rare to the point where when we see it we're like, oh my god,
You're damn
it's
right it's rare.
real.
You're damn right it's rare.
It Yeah, it exists. And trust me, dude, I don't I don't like being a burden for anyone. So I like I totally understand like when someone is focused on something and they want to accomplish something, like dude, do your thing, you know. But yeah, there are some people, and not necessarily girls, because us guys, we can get pretty fucking jealous too, like, you know, and say, oh, what you want to study, like you want to do good things for yourself and be great at what you do. Not like, nah, you can't do that. That's super sexist, first of all. But there are people out there like that that just want to keep you at a certain level, and I think those are the people that you definitely have to eliminate from your life, or else, you know, you're just gonna be in the same spot forever. And sometimes it's not even like a significant other. Sometimes it could be someone that you call a friend or someone that you get along with really well. Um, Sometimes it's just the mentality that they have.
And I'm gonna stop you right there.
Yeah.
And sometimes what's important is that that other person um that is stopping you from moving forward, you have to also understand they don't know that they're doing this. They think, and that's that's a conversation that people need to have if they're gonna keep, if they want to keep moving forward and the people around them cannot. You have to understand there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with for you wanting better for yourself. There's nothing wrong with you trying to make it out here. And if they, I'm telling you, if they actually love you, they'll. And if you also, it's all about getting your point across, getting everybody on board too. They need to know you. You need to list out, like, not list out, but you need to spill out exactly what you're doing, where you're going, how they can help, how they cannot help. If they can't, or if you have to make it clear to them. And I feel like that works wonders, man. That works so many wonders. A lot of the times it's they don't know that they're doing the damage. They, let's say you have a girlfriend and you can't you can't go out every weekend with her because you understand how much money we could spend on consumption, and it would be better to invest it in something else that will, in the long run, will help you. It comes in several forms. If you don't explain the whole thing for her and you simply just tell her, you know what, we can't, we can't, whatever, we can't go to these things every week, all this other stuff. It's gonna come off as, oh, he doesn't want to spend money on me, doesn't want to spend time with me, this and that.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes so much deeper. That's just with the relationship. That applies to anything, like whether it be the brother, the sister, the mom, the cousin, whatever the case may be. You like, for example, you sometimes you can't do weekends, man. Like, you can't do
Yeah.
weekends.
Yeah.
I had a really good weekend last weekend, but before that, man, that was only because it was one of my best friends' birthday.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
and I, don't get me wrong, I set everything else automated. I had everything else set up. I was away for a day and a half maybe, and even then I still had my laptop over there. But no, yeah, it's important to have everybody on board if you're gonna be, if you're gonna be shooting for the moon. It's important that you have everybody nice and equipped, ready to go with you, because if not, you're gonna be climbing. How many people are on the spaceship? Only a couple, man.
Yeah.
There you go. So you
Yeah.
need, you need, if people want to go with you, that's great, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, that's somewhere else the thick skin comes in. That if people want to be with you, okay, but what's more important to you? Kind of keeping this okay relationship that might backfire on you at the end, or your end goal? What's more important? Sometimes it's hard to, some people don't want to hear that ultimatum, but sometimes it comes that nice and clear. Sometimes you have to ask yourself. It's The more time goes on, the more I read, the more I learn off of people, the more I read off people's experiences, the easier it gets to point these things out. The clearer of a mind you have, I constantly stop and ask myself whenever I start doubting whether I should do something or not. Just start thinking to myself, should I? Is this gonna get me better, or is this gonna get me closer to where I want to be? The answer is all very black and white. Is it yes or no? You know, and like right now, if we get invited out, it's a no instantaneously.
Yeah.
Instant. There's it's very very clear. It's very even if it's one of my even if it's one of my somebody that I knew in high school or after that. Okay, do you want to catch up with them a little more than? Do you want to? Oh, hey, do you want to come catch up? This and that. We're gonna go. Okay, what do you want more? Do you want to catch up with them, or do you want to get closer to where you want to go? Do you want to do what you said you were gonna do? Okay, up to you. Make the call. Do
Yeah.
you miss them a little more?
Mm-hmm.
All right, then go ahead. But just understand that somebody else is in your position and they're gonna pick the right thing, and that's what you're racing against. If
Yeah.
you're okay with it, and that's okay, that not everybody has to get to the top of Mount Everest, but don't question things. Don't question why things aren't going your way when you make that decision and you
Mm-hmm.
decide to go with the one that the other person didn't go with. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
so
All your answers are in your decisions taken, because you said don't question it, and that's true. You shouldn't, because that decision that you made is exactly why you have the result now that you have. And all of this that we've been talking about right now is what goes into being an entrepreneur, what goes into being a business person. It's not easy. It's not easy at all.
dude,
It's
no,
no,
no, like
it's not easy.
the hardships that I've explained on here,
It's
man,
like,
don't come close, man.
dude,
They don't come close. One
it's
day, we'll be able to look back on this, but one day I plan on I'm gonna write a small piece, man, and maybe
okay.
I'm not doing it just because I could very well just tell people now if it was for me wanting to feel good about myself or people to tell me things or people to feel bad for me, and then oh my gosh, look at what this person did. But I'm gonna let it be known to everybody else just so people understand that it's less than 10%. It's 1% of what happens to you and 99% on how you react to it and how you take it after that. If right
Mm-hmm.
now someone came in here and like I don't know I walked out of here and somebody I don't know called me I don't know called me the worst name that you could think of. Who knows? Okay, is it I know myself in my core, so I'll know exactly what you get what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's it's definitely all about your mentality when it comes to doing this, because it's not easy when you're on a journey that requires so much work, so much effort, and that goes for anything in life if you want to be great at it. This isn't narrowed down just to business or to this creating content or anything like that. I mean, shit, if you want to be a lawyer, if you want to be a doctor, are you kidding me, dude? The work is fucking ridiculous. You have your work cut out for years and years and years, just like us. Just because we don't have the title yet doesn't necessarily mean that that we don't have to put in the work. Sometimes we have to put in double the work.
Mhm.
You know. Um.
Sometimes and I feel like a lot of what I've spoken about, people will think that it's just about business and it's business minded, but look around you, man. Like you go to a campus and you'll run into a mixed crowd obviously, but you'll run into a lot of I don't a lot of worry, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
uncertainty.
Mm-hmm. A lot. Yeah.
Why? Because it's the problem is endless, but mainly it's people. They're majority of the time they're making decisions based on what's best for them and what's best for their social side of things, and then they're kind of questioning as to why they're not excelling academically. Why is it? Because you reap what you sow. If you want to spend all weekend. If you want to go out and then let's say you have work the next morning and say that okay, you'll do it. Let's say it's Friday. It's Friday right now. Let's say I want to go out and I know I'm gonna work from tomorrow from 7 a.m. to 5. Okay, I'll just do my homework tomorrow afternoon. Okay, like okay, go ahead, do it, but we'll talk again tomorrow, and we'll see how much energy you have
Yeah.
after
We'll talk
going
at
out.
5:30. See if you want
Yeah,
to do your homework.
yeah,
Probably not.
or you take care of business first, and you could very well point out. I guarantee you, you go to a classroom right now. You go to a classroom, You take the grades out. You take the highest selling. The highest selling. Fuck. I can't stop. I can't stop fucking thinking about that thing about my baby. But you go to a classroom of 30 people.
Uh
You
huh.
take the habits of an A student and you take the habits of a D student. It will be very clear. It'll be
Yeah.
black and white.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do the last week? Okay, break me down what you went through. Every day for. I've been there, man. I was a shit. I've been a shit student. I've been a good student. I've been a shit student
So have I.
again,
So have I. Yeah.
and I've been a shit student. And I know probably didn't know then, but I know exactly why. I
Mm.
got exactly what I deserve, and people think that it's a bunch of different factors. I think people think it's countless amounts of factors, but in reality, what matters to you? Day by day, what matters to you? How much time? Okay, let's say you have a biology class. How much time do you spend a day reviewing a test that's gonna change the outcome? In reality, every little test is a little outcome of how your semester is going. A semester is a variable on how your year goes. A year is how your life goes, man, academically, let alone with everything else.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to become that person first. Like I said earlier, you need to become. People think it's just about business, about a sport, or it could be for anything. It could be a business, sport, school, whatever the case may be. You need to have the habits. If you want to be like a champion academically, whatever, you have to have the habits of a champion. Take what something that I heard the other day that I had no idea of. LeBron James, who we all know, I didn't know, but he spends over like $10 million in on himself, like
Mm-hmm.
for to maintain his body, his
Mm-hmm.
physique,
Mm-hmm.
a year. I had no idea, but again, it doesn't surprise me, man.
No.
Like he's at the people like want to name a bunch of these things as to why somebody's like that. They want to get crazy, want to fucking just call it genetics and be lazy and just call it genetics.
Yeah.
But it takes a sickening amount of work. Ask LeBron, ask Kobe. Take the habits that they have on a daily basis over the last 10 years and compare it to an average player, and the answer is so evident. But so many people like to overlook that because it's easy for them. It's easy to, oh no, that has nothing to do with it, this and that, they'll blame it on something else. But I mean, just take a look, on anything. Take I'm telling you, go to a class, ask the A student what they did the last week, ask the D student what they did the last week, and your answers are right there. Go to one of these MMA shows around here, ask them what they're doing all week, and then go to the UFC and ask them what they're doing all week. Answer is very clear. Take the number one businessman in the US, ask him what he's doing, and ask an okay businessman. The answers will be right there every time. It's you have to have these characteristics. You have to have the strong principles, strong habits to back you up. If not, eh, you know, worry and all these other things are always going to be there. You only get confident from doing these things. From doing, accomplishing little things. You know, taking out each day, every single day. That's where you get the confidence from. It doesn't just happen like this. People want to get to the end goal like this. It's a mess. It's
Mm-mm.
sad to watch
No.
sometimes, but
I mean, you're just setting yourself up for a disappointment if you think that your end result is gonna be so quick. Um, I mean, I can tell you this from experience. I jump into some stuff with the wrong mentality, and I end up disappointed. So I think also something that I don't know if we've mentioned it, and maybe we have, like, I think planning your stuff. Of course, nothing is gonna go exactly as planned, but it is good to plan your stuff and to really prepare for success because, like in a soccer game, for example, excuse me, games are won on the training ground. In
absolutely.
sports in general, you win your games at practice. You don't win your games in those 90 minutes or in those 60 minutes or in those 48 minutes or whatever. You win when you practice, when you prepare. Same thing for all of this. Um, you just have to be well prepared, and you have to set yourself up for success, because if you're not setting yourself up for success, then you're setting yourself up for failure unless you're that good at that certain thing that you want to do. Which
John
if
Jones.
Yeah, if you rely on a certain talent, is the battery dying on our camera? I think it is. So we're gonna have to start wrapping it up. Oh man, um, yeah, you can't rely on your talent. If you do, again, chances are you might see some success, not a lot. So preparation is key, and of course, all of that
Correct.
Miguel mentioned, the mentality, the thick skin, um, that ability to make very very difficult choices. It's not easy. It's not easy, but it's not for everyone either,
It's
right?
not for everybody, no.
Last thoughts, final thoughts before we wrap this up.
Final
I should have
thoughts.
charged my camera. Damn it.
No, it's all good. Final thoughts, man. I think, oh God, man, I really wish I could just help people. Did that die?
No.
I really wish I could just say something to help absolutely everybody. But the best thing I could go with is, work on yourself every day, man. If you let the day happen, man, you just kind of, if you settle and don't plan things, you're kind of letting things happen to you. Even the smallest things. If you don't set out to, get your job or go to school, it's the circumstances are gonna decide for you. All these things are gonna decide for you, man. So I just really want anybody that's listening to this, pick what you want to do, go 100 miles per hour, man. Think about where you want to be, and then do whatever you got to do to get there, man. Like that's all I could really say. And work on it every day, man. So some people underestimate how much, they want to. Oh, a year from now, I want to have this and that. But okay, what are you gonna do today? Oh, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go play soccer all day, and then I'm gonna go fuck around at night. I'm gonna go, whatever the case may be. Tomorrow, so on and so forth. No, no,
Gotta work. That's all.
no. That's
That's
it.
it. You gotta work.
Hack at it every day, and then
And
we're
now it
good.
died. No, but it's all good. You know why? Because it's still recording over there. All right, dude. So where can they follow you on social media? Because I'm pretty sure they wanna. They really, really want
Yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna lie to you.
that
I'm
knowledge.
not going to. I don't post a ton of things. You won't know a lot about me if you just. But if you seriously, if you directly contact me, man, I love helping absolutely anybody. You know this,
Mm-hmm.
and going forward, I hope anybody that hears this knows this. But I'm always like 110% about helping absolutely anybody that needs any type of help with anything, honestly. But Ocampo Miguel '09 is my Instagram, I think, and that's it. But yeah, ears are always open. Anything that I do know, of course, I have no problem passing it on to anybody. Um, and you're gonna catch a better version of me next time, because you're gonna, every time that you talk to me, there's gonna be a better version of me. So
There you go. Improvement. That's what it's all about. Thank you so much for doing this on a Friday night. We could be doing something else, but you hit it right on the head. We're working on our fucking craft.
no, we're just getting started, baby boy.
Hey, yeah, we're just getting started. All right. Until next time, everyone. Um, I don't even know what to say anymore. Follow me on Twitter at Alex Perez FC and on Instagram. Miguel fucking killed it
Stay
tonight.
positive.
Stay positive. Wash your balls and
Powder your ball.
powder your balls because it's swamp ass season. Thank you for listening. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.